Hi, I'm Ray Porter. I'm a professional voice actor and narrator. I have voiced this.
How am I in another solar system?
And this.
You do want to get better, Pat, right?
Oh, and also this.
Sufficient material has been located for all construction.
So I'm going to play improv roulette. I'm going to receive prompts from these orange envelopes and read text from that teleprompter. Strap in. Okay, and the winner is perform famous Shakespeare texts as randomly generated characters. Okay. Round 1, Romeo. Man, 16 years, handsome, in love. All right. But soft. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief. Okay, let's have a look at what I just did. I remember being 16. What light through yonder window breaks? Being so earnest it almost hurts. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. I can't do a lot with in love. What I can do something with is the artifacts of being in love. Does it make you afraid, eager, earnest? Well, that's going to be a vocal choice. What light through yonder window breaks? He's so ardent that he's comparing her to astronomical figures. And Juliet is the sun. Why would you choose those words on a date? Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. There almost aren't enough right words to express how I feel right now. Who is already sick and pale with grief. I won't be standing under anybody's balcony anytime soon, I promise. There's laws against that. Man, portly. Oh, really? 70 years, in love. Okay. But soft. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief. If the information that I have is that he's a man, that he's 70, that he's portly, and he's in love, what light through yonder window breaks? He's been around a little bit. There's not a lot that's going to surprise necessarily in the same way that it did when he was a young, fit 16-year-old. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. You take the information and make an assumption based on that information. Portly, arise, fair sun, suggests he understands some of the pleasures of life, so he's going to be more of a sensualist than Romeo at 16. And kill the envious moon. And kill the envious moon. Sure as hell not going to be climbing up to any balconies, not without a decent health plan. Oh, Lord. Woman, 30 years, delicate and in love. Okay. But soft. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief. Try to not do a cliche woman voice, but someone who has never had to shout is kind of how I played that. It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Being 30, there's going to be a bit more groundedness. What light through yonder window breaks? What light through yonder window breaks? Just, established, has made her own decisions, and this is the level she speaks at. This is how she interacts with the world. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon. Does that make her delicate? Probably. Maybe. That's kind of the information that I took with me to do that. Round 2, The Witches from Macbeth. Old woman, macabre, scheming. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire, burn and cauldron bubble, fillet of a fenny snake in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. This is clearly an incantation. Double, double, toil and trouble. So I found there was a great deal more depth within the physicality. There was a certain amount of stillness. I wasn't as up in my chest or in my shoulders. It was more rooted. Eye of newt and toe of frog. Sort of opening the throat for those more guttural bits. Wool of bat and tongue of dog. That's a guttural voice. Young woman. Macabre. Scheming. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble, fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake, eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. Obviously very similar to the older woman, but clearly a younger voice. Age has not had its way with her vocal apparatus. Double, double, toil and trouble. Double, double, toil and trouble. Not talking high, but perhaps there's a bit more air behind what I'm saying. In the cauldron, boil and bake. There is a certain softness. I'm not on the chords. It is the east and Juliet is the sun. Eye of newt and toe of frog. I really want to avoid, oh, here's this guy trying to do a woman's voice, because that's going to get in the way of you hearing this story. Cardinal rule. Stay out of the way of the text. Somebody hates me at Audible. Young woman, playful and innocent. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake. Eye of newt and toe of frog, wool of bat and tongue of dog. Well, I can say that time I approached the text like I was discovering these for the first time. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. As opposed to it being an established incantation. Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake. And I decided to allow the words to kind of bounce me around. Fillet of a fenny snake, in the cauldron boil and bake. So that it was a discovery that seemed to make it a bit more playful and a bit more innocent. Wool of bat and tongue of dog. Round 3. Hamlet. Okay, prompt 1. Man, 30 years, melancholy, hesitant. To be or not to be? That's the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. You have this person who, is trying to decide to be or not to be. Really being confused, being in a place where you simply do not know what to do next. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. That pretty much says indecision. To be or not to be. What is a physical result of being melancholy, all's not right in the world, or hesitant? That's the question. Their voice gets kind of high in their chest, they're trying to think things through. There's a lot of air going on there. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. If that makes sense. I don't know if it does. That's the question. Kind of like that. Woman, 80 years, melancholy and hesitant. Okay. To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. With the 80-year-old, there was a lot less musculature involved. Bit thinner. To be or not to be, or not to be. This is not anything new. This is not something you've never heard before. There is not that sense of unfamiliarity or ungroundedness. To suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, it's more just tiring. Here we are again. To suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. It kind of sounded a little bit British. To be... Wasn't my intention to go British at all. Or not. It was more about just being precise in the way she spoke. What? Okay, still a woman, 80 years old. Ecstatic and obsessed. All right. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. Ecstatic and obsessed. To be or not to be. It's going to bring a lot more energy into the speech, into the physicality of it. That is the question. A common misconception with, voice people is that they're just sort of behind the mic and not moving around. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. You're acting, and that does communicate itself into your body. So there is a bit of movement that goes on. And by opposing end them. Voice acting is acting. It can be a very tough business, and it can also be incredibly rewarding. Don't ever stop believing in yourself. If this is something that you really, really want to do, be tenacious, be always enthusiastic, and be ready to learn. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check out all of the amazing audiobooks I've narrated on Audible. And subscribe to this channel for more great videos.